Well, hi everyone, and welcome again to the Sound Ministry Training. This is video 2, and we are back here in the engine room, as I like to call it, or as other people like to call it, the photocopier room, to show you, I guess, the real guts of the sound system that we at Waratah have, and something that you'll need to know about if you're, wanting to do sound at Waratah. But also something that is helpful to know if you are just involved in the music and you want to know how things are working. There's going to be a couple of times in this video where I have to move the camera, and that one of those is coming up shortly. But just as a pre-warning, if you get motion sick or something watching something rock around, I'll give you forewarning. You can look away while I move the camera. So we're basically now in these next two videos. Last time we looked at some of the stage arrangement and talked about some of the things that we'll be doing on that. So there'll probably be an updated video 1 when all that is complete. But for now, we'll leave that up, and this is video 2. And this is really from the perspective of you've just rocked up on a Sunday morning, and so you've just turned up to do sound on Sunday morning. And what's the first step? And it's really important, first of all, that we say the first step is not to turn on the sound desk. It's in actual fact the amplifiers, which I'm going to show you in a minute, that need to be turned on. So we've just rocked up at church, and now we need to turn it all on. So here's the fair warning. I'm about to move the camera, okay? And we'll show you how that's done. First of all, now I'm going to try and get this as best I can. So you can see that there are a lot of PowerPoints, and all of this power cabling is basically driving everything that happens on Sunday morning. There are two that you will not need to turn on or off. They just stay on all the time, and they are essentially these ones here, and that's running the Wi-Fi and all that sort of thing, internet stuff. So don't worry about those, but everything else, the easy part about this is you just turn everything on. So I'm just going to go through. Boom. There's quite a few volts now all of a sudden pulsating through those cables. All right, now I'm going to show you what to do next, and yep, I'm going to have to move the camera as I move the computer back down. So 1 second. Ta-da! Here come the amps. Okay, now the contrast is a bit hard here, so I've decided I'm going to use my phone torch to give you a bit more of a view of what's going on. So first things first, we have these digital snakes, and that is taking all of this stuff here. That is stuff that's coming out of all the little boxes that are on the stage that things get plugged into. And that's coming out of the stage, coming under the floor, out to here, and going into there. And obviously this has power coming to it. So this has what we call a phantom power running through it. So every single time you plug in a microphone, you might be wondering, why do we never have to have batteries in microphones that we plug in? That's because the whole sound system itself has power running through it. But yeah, so there you go. That's everything coming out from the stage, and that gets plugged into these boxes here. There's, I think, off the top of my head, about 36 or something channels. And then this receives all of that and then sends 2 big fat cables up the middle channel in the concrete of the church, right up to the very back of the desk. Moving down a step, I don't know if you can see them, but these 2 boxes here, there's one there and one there, these little boxes. They are wireless receiver boxes. Usually they get unplugged and taken with us to down to the park when we do carols in the park. And they are the receiver boxes for the headsets. There is actually, by the way, a third wireless receiver box that lives up at the sound desk, but we keep these two down here. And these drive both the headsets, but also, if we want to use them, the roving microphones that we switch on and off occasionally. You just can't use them at the same time. That's the only thing. Okay, moving down a touch. Just going to tilt that. Now we've got the real business end. So the things that are already on here, these are basically driving the speakers. I don't know exactly which one's which, but out of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 speaker amplifiers, some will be powering the speakers that hang from the roof, of which we have 4. So it's 2 racks of 2. Just take the torch away for a second. The other one will be, or the other ones will be powering the subwoofers that we have, which provides all the bass. So there's a lot of power in those. Then we actually have, this is the amplifier of the actual channels that we plug the instruments into. And all you need to do is, there are 2 switches here. There and there. Watch what happens when I switch them on. So you've just come in on a Sunday morning, you've switched everything on the PowerPoint. First thing you need to do, you don't have to worry about these powering the speaker banks. You've just got to worry about what's powering the channels. And when I do this, you'll hear and see how they light up. And there they are. They light up. They're not always as noisy when they first, as when they first power up. They eventually settle down. You can probably hear them maybe in the background there. So I'm just going to put the torch down for a second. You'll notice there's 2 knobs here that you don't need to worry about. They've been removed completely. So whatever you do, don't touch those. So far, just to recap, just super quickly before I go on to the next step. So far, all we've had to do is switch things on at the PowerPoint and switch 2 switches on. That's it. All of this stuff here, you don't have to worry about it. It's static. You don't really touch it. However, these volume knobs here are very important. These 2 knobs here, 1, 2. When we finish doing sound, I know I've just turned up, but hear me out. When we finish doing sound at the end of each Sunday, these really should be turned all the way back to minus 95 decibels. The reason why I say that is because when we turn up to switch everything on, they should be reading minus 95 from the last person who used it. What we do is we turn this bottom one here, turn it, until it reads, I'm going to put the camera up to it in a minute, until it reads minus 3. Yep, there we go. And then we do turn this one up until it reads minus 6. There we go. Just going to quickly lift the camera up so you can see that. Hopefully you'll be able to see it on the screen. Just move it a bit closer. Might not be able to make that out, but anyway. Trust me. That screen, it says minus 6 decibels. On that screen, it says minus 3. I guarantee you. Now, there's only 2 more things that we need to touch. And really, they're just the one thing. There's just 2 of them. And it's these ones here. They're the only other switches on this rack. One switch there, one switch there. Watch what happens when I switch it. So the lights go on. Again, bit of noise. And that one as well. So Peter, what are these things? Well, these banks here, these amps, these are for all the foldbacks. Now, what I'm about to tell you is super important because one morning, years ago, I nearly freaked out because there was no foldback coming through no matter what I did up at the desk, and I was freaking out and I couldn't understand what was going on. However, that was because I forgot to turn up the channels. These dials here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they, and so on, they are basically the master volumes of what we call the foldback channels. Just quickly, these channels 7 and 8, these are devoted to the effects channels, but I'm just going to call it a foldback channel, okay? And all you do, don't have to worry about -6, -3 or that. You just crank all of these up full. So, just put that, pull that one up, and the effects channels. I'm not going to talk too much about the effects channels even in video 3. It's probably not a good idea to teach people to go in and monkey with the effects. Just make sure everything's basically turned up full gas on what I call the foldback banks. All of a sudden, what we have here is a running engine. It's like an engine running on idle. It's ready to receive the accelerator. Basically, if you imagine it's like driving a car, this is the engine that's running, and all your accelerator and clutch, and that's all up at the sound desk. But yeah, this is now on. It's running. It's ready to receive sound. Your foldbacks are up, and your house speakers are running at those decibels. Your channels are active, phantom power is flowing through them, and your wireless channels are ready to go as well. Again, just to recap, we really only did 3 things. We switched everything on at the power points at the back here, which you can see in the background. Next thing we did was we switched the 4 switches on, 2 here and 2 here. So switch, switch, and turn. Lastly, we turned these knobs up for the house speakers out the front of the church to -6 and -3, and we turned on all these individual foldback channels to full blast. So we switched on the power point, we switched on these switches on the amp, and we turned 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 knobs, but 8 of them are all the same, and these 2 are the same. It's actually not that complicated. Once you've done it a couple of times, it's pretty easy to learn. It looks impressive, but there's actually not a whole lot to do back here. So this is probably the shorter of the sound training videos. We'll see you in the next one, where we head up to the back. All right, see you later.